The garbage bag tore open in my hands, spilling rotted lettuce and coffee grounds across the alley pavement behind Romano's Italian kitchen. I was on my knees, searching for anything edible, when I heard the footsteps stop behind me. "Are you Felicia Ray?" I froze. Nobody had called me by my name in 8 months. On the streets, I was invisible, just another homeless woman the world had decided didn't exist anymore. I turned slowly, my hands still covered in garbage slime, and saw a woman in her 50s standing there. She wore an expensive charcoal suit and held a leather briefcase that probably cost more than I used to spend on groceries in a year. "Who wants to know?" My voice came out scratchy. I hadn't spoken to anyone in days. "My name is Patricia Holbrook. I'm an estate attorney from Manhattan." She didn't wrinkle her nose at the smell coming from the dumpster, didn't look disgusted at my filthy clothes or matted hair. Her eyes held something I hadn't seen in a long time, genuine compassion. "I've been searching for you for 6 weeks. Your great-uncle, Theodore Ray, passed away 3 months ago. He left you everything." I laughed. It was a harsh, broken sound that hurt my throat. "Lady, I don't have a great-uncle. And even if I did, this is a sick joke to play on someone digging through trash. Theodore was your grandfather's younger brother. They had a falling out in 1967 and never reconciled. Theodore made his fortune breeding and training elite competition horses in the Hamptons. He never married, never had children. When he learned about what happened to you last year, he hired private investigators to track your situation. He wanted to help, but he died before he could reach you." Patricia pulled a folder from her briefcase. "He left you his entire estate, a 40-acre property with a mansion and professional equestrian facilities, a stable of 12 championship horses, his car collection, including a 1962 Ferrari 250 GTO, and $53 million in various accounts and investments." The garbage bag slipped from my fingers. "This isn't real." "It's very real, but there is one condition." Of course there was. There was always a catch. "What condition?" "You must live on the property and personally oversee the care of the horses for 1 full year. You cannot sell the property, the horses, or any major assets during that time. After the year ends, everything becomes yours unconditionally to do with as you please. But if you abandon the responsibility before the year is up, everything goes to the Equine Rescue Foundation." Patricia extended a business card. "I have a car waiting 3 blocks from here. We can leave now if you're ready. Get you cleaned up, fed, and take you home." I stared at the card. 12 months ago, I'd had everything. A beautiful horse farm in Virginia, 16 horses I'd raised and trained myself, a daughter I loved more than breathing, and a husband I'd been married to for 14 years. Then Gregory filed for divorce and brought in a legal team that destroyed me systematically. They found every loophole, exploited every weakness, painted me as an unstable woman, unfit to own property or raise a child. They claimed I'd mismanaged our finances, neglected our daughter, that I was having an affair with our stable manager. All lies, but the judge believed them. I lost my farm, my horses, custody of my 10-year-old daughter Bailey. Gregory's lawyers stripped me so thoroughly that I couldn't even afford a motel room. I'd been living on the streets for 8 months, watching my old life dissolve like smoke. "Why me?" I whispered. "Why would Theodore leave everything to someone he never met? He said in his will that family ties are family ties, even when separated by distance and time. He said what Gregory did to you was an abomination, and he wanted to give you the resources to rebuild." Patricia's voice softened. "He wanted you to have the life you deserved." I looked down at my filthy hands, at the garbage scattered around my knees, at the reality of what I'd become. Then I looked back at Patricia. "Take me there," I said. The estate was something from a dream. We drove up a tree-lined driveway that seemed to go on forever, and then the mansion appeared, a sprawling colonial with white columns and black shutters, sitting on manicured lawns that rolled toward professional riding arenas and pristine, white-fenced paddocks. Beyond the main house, I could see the stable complex, easily twice the size of the barn I'd lost. The property includes 40 acres, Patricia explained as we parked. 12 horses currently in residence, all competition-level dressage and show-jumping horses. Theodore employed a full staff. Head trainer, 2 grooms, a stable manager, a housekeeper, a groundskeeper, and a chef. They've all been maintained on salary and informed of the situation. I got out of the car slowly. Horses grazed in the nearest paddock. Beautiful, expensive animals with the kind of conformation and movement I'd only dreamed of owning. One of them, a stunning black mare, lifted her head and whinnied at me. "That's Midnight Sonata," Patricia said, "Theodore's prized dressage horse. She's worth about $2 million alone." $2 million for one horse. I'd sold my entire farm for less than that. A woman in her 60s came out of the main house, walking toward us with a kind smile. "You must be Ms. Ray. I'm Margaret Sutton, the housekeeper. We've prepared the master suite for you. Would you like to freshen up before we discuss everything else?" I looked down at myself. Clothes I'd been wearing for a week, hands still sticky with garbage, hair that probably hadn't seen shampoo in a month. "I don't want to track dirt through that beautiful house." "That's what cleaning is for," Margaret said warmly. "Come on, let's get you comfortable." The master suite was larger than the entire apartment Gregory and I had lived in when we first got married. The bathroom had a soaking tub, a shower with multiple heads, heated marble floors, and enough towels for a small hotel. I stood there for a long moment, afraid to touch anything with my filthy hands. "Take all the time you need," Margaret said, placing fresh clothes on the counter, expensive casual wear in my exact size. "Theodore had someone research everything about you, including your measurements. When you're ready, come downstairs. We'll have lunch waiting." After she left, I ran the bath as hot as I could stand and added something from a crystal bottle that smelled like lavender. When I lowered myself into the water, I started crying, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming sensation of being warm and clean and safe for the first time in 8 months. I washed my hair 4 times, scrubbed my skin until it was pink. When I finally got out and looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. 8 months on the streets had carved away fat and muscle, leaving me gaunt and hollow-eyed. But at least I was clean. The clothes fit perfectly. When I made my way downstairs, Patricia was waiting in a dining room with a table that could seat 20. A single place had been set with fine china. A man in his 40s, the chef I assumed, brought out soup, fresh bread, and a simple salad. "Slowly," Patricia warned as I reached for the bread. "Your stomach needs time to adjust." She was right. Even the soup felt rich after months of scraps, but it was the best thing I'd ever tasted. "Let's talk about the condition," I said between careful bites. "What exactly does it mean to personally oversee the care?" Theodore was specific. "You must live on the property full-time. You must be involved in the daily care and training of the horses. He didn't expect you to do everything yourself, but you need to be present and engaged. You can't delegate everything to the staff and disappear." He wanted this to be a real commitment, a year of rebuilding, not just your finances, but your connection to the life you lost. What if Gregory finds out? The question had been burning in my mind since we left the city. What if he tries to claim part of this? Patricia smiled. Theodore anticipated that. This inheritance is classified as a gift from a relative, received after your divorce was finalized. Gregory has 0 legal claim to any of it. Additionally, Theodore established an irrevocable trust that protects all assets from any future creditors, lawsuits, or claims. This is yours, completely and untouchably. I set down my spoon carefully. He really thought of everything. He spent the last year of his life planning this. He was quite angry about what happened to you. Not just losing your farm and horses, but losing custody of your daughter. He thought that was unconscionable. Bailey, my daughter. The thought of her sent a fresh wave of pain through my chest. Gregory had convinced the judge I was unstable, that Bailey would be better off with him and his new girlfriend, a woman named Vanessa, who'd been his paralegal and was now playing stepmother to my child. "Does the inheritance give me any leverage for custody?" I asked quietly. Patricia's expression turned sad. "Not directly. Family courts focus on stability and the child's best interests. Right now, Gregory has primary custody, with you having supervised visitation rights, though I understand you haven't been able to exercise those rights." "I've been homeless. I couldn't exactly have Bailey visit me in an alley." My voice was bitter. "But now you have a stable home, a substantial income, the resources to hire excellent family lawyers. It won't be quick or easy, but you have options you didn't have before." I finished the soup slowly, thinking, I want to file for custody modification as soon as possible. "Let's get you established first. Make sure you're meeting Theodore's condition, that you're stable and healthy. Then we'll build a case that shows you've rebuilt your life and can provide an excellent home for Bailey." Patricia pulled out more papers. "For now, let's go over the practical details. Bank accounts, credit cards, the staff, the horses' care routines. You have a lot to learn." The first week passed in a blur. I met the staff, Cameron, the head trainer, who'd worked with Theodore for 20 years, 2 young grooms named Alex and Sophie, and the stable manager, a no-nonsense woman named Diane, who clearly loved the horses more than people. They were all professional and welcoming, though I caught them exchanging glances when they thought I wasn't looking. They were wondering if I could handle this, if I was up to Theodore's standards. So was I. But I'd trained horses my whole life. I'd started riding at age 4, competed through high school and college, worked as a trainer before buying my own small farm. I knew horses. What I'd lost in the divorce wasn't knowledge or skill, it was resources. Now I had resources. I threw myself into work. I was up at 5 every morning, helping with feeding and turnout. I observed Cameron's training sessions, watching how he worked with horses that cost more than most houses. I studied the horses' medical files, their training schedules, their show records. By the end of the first week, I could name every horse and recite their quirks and accomplishments. Midnight Sonata, the black mare, became my favorite. She was brilliant but sensitive, the kind of horse that required patience and understanding. On my 8th day at the estate, I asked Cameron if I could work with her. "She's particular about who rides her," he warned. "Theodore was the only one she really trusted." "I'd like to try, just groundwork at first." Cameron nodded slowly. "All right, but be careful. She's worth more than most people earn in their lifetime." I spent an hour with Midnight in the round pen, working on basic communication. She was skeptical at first, testing me with attitude and stubbornness. But I'd worked with difficult horses before. I stayed calm, consistent, patient. By the end of the session, she was following me around the pen like a puppy. "Well, I'll be damned," Cameron said from the fence. "She usually takes weeks to warm up to someone." She just needed to know I understood her. I scratched Midnight's forehead. We speak the same language. That night, I received my first phone call from Gregory. I'd gotten a new cell phone with a new number, but somehow he'd tracked it down. His name appeared on the screen, and my first instinct was to ignore it. But I answered, "Felicia." His voice was the same, smooth, calculated, with an undertone of barely controlled anger. "I heard an interesting story today." "Hello, Gregory. Someone told me they saw you getting into an expensive car with a woman in a business suit. Said you looked cleaned up, healthy. Want to explain that?" "Not particularly." "Don't play games with me. What's going on? Did you find some rich man to take care of you? Are you prostituting yourself?" I smiled, even though he couldn't see it. "No, though I appreciate you revealing your character immediately. I inherited an estate from my great-uncle Theodore. 40 acres, 12 horses, $53 million. All mine, legally protected from any claim you might try to make. The silence on the other end was profound. Then, "That's impossible." "It's very real. I have all the legal documentation. Want me to send you copies?" "Oh, wait. You have no legal right to any information about my finances anymore. We're divorced, remember? If you acquired this during our marriage..." "I inherited it 3 months after our divorce was finalized, and it was a gift from a relative, which makes it completely separate property with zero marital claim possible." I was reciting what Patricia had taught me. "Your lawyers did teach me a lot about property law, Gregory." I paid attention. "This is bullshit. There has to be a way to challenge this." "There isn't, but please, waste more money on lawyers trying. I'm sure they'll be happy to bill you for telling you what I just said." I paused. "How's Bailey?" His voice turned cold. "She's fine. Better than fine. She's thriving with me and Vanessa. I want to see her. I have a stable home now, substantial income, everything the court said I lacked. I'm filing for modified custody." "Over my dead body. You lost your rights because you're unstable." "I lost my rights because your lawyers lied in court and I was too poor to fight properly. That's changed. I can afford excellent attorneys now, and I will get my daughter back." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. Margaret appeared with tea. She had an uncanny sense for when I needed something, and sat across from me in the mansion's enormous living room. "That was him?" she asked. "He found out about the inheritance. He's going to try something." "Let him try. Theodore made this bulletproof. And Patricia's firm is one of the best in the country. They won't let Gregory touch anything." "It's not the money I'm worried about, it's Bailey. He'll fight me on custody, and family courts are unpredictable." Margaret squeezed my hand. "Then you build a case so strong they can't ignore it. You show them you're stable, capable, providing an excellent home. And you don't give up." "I've never given up. Not on Bailey, not on anything. That's not who I am." "I know. Theodore saw that in you. That's why he left you all this." 3 weeks into my new life, Patricia arrived with a family law attorney named Diane Weston. We sat in Theodore's study, now my study, surrounded by books and mahogany furniture, and discussed strategy. "Gregory's going to fight this hard," Diane said bluntly. "He won the custody battle before, and he'll argue nothing has materially changed to justify modification. Except everything has changed. I have a home, stable income, resources, which he'll argue you didn't earn, that you've only had for a few weeks. Family courts move slowly, Felicia. They want to see sustained stability, not sudden windfalls." Diane pulled out files. "What we need to do is document everything. Your involvement with the horses, your daily routines, your mental health treatment. I'm not in treatment. You should be, not because there's anything wrong with you, but because it shows you're serious about your well-being. After 8 months homeless following a devastating divorce, seeing a therapist is completely appropriate and will look good to the court." I hated the calculation of it, doing things not because I needed them, but because they looked good. But I wanted Bailey back more than I wanted to be proud. "Fine, set it up. We'll also need character witnesses, people who can testify to your parenting abilities, your dedication, your stability. Most of my old friends sided with Gregory in the divorce. He's very good at controlling narratives. What about people here, the staff? They can testify to your work ethic, your dedication to the horses, your stable living situation. I thought about Cameron, Margaret, Diane the stable manager. They barely know me. They will. That's why we're not filing immediately. We're going to build this case carefully. 3 to 6 months of documented stability, then we file. In the meantime, you exercise your visitation rights, which are supervised, correct?" "Yes, 4 hours a month in a supervised facility. I haven't seen Bailey in 8 months because I couldn't afford the facility fees." "That changes now. We schedule visitation immediately, and you show up every single time, perfectly prepared, being the best mother possible. We document everything, every visit, every interaction, any issues that arise from Gregory's side." Diane's expression softened slightly. This is going to be hard, Felicia. Seeing your daughter in those circumstances, knowing you can't take her home. But it's necessary. I'll do whatever it takes. The first visitation was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I arrived at the facility 30 minutes early, wearing nice but casual clothes. Margaret had helped me shop for a wardrobe that said stable parent without screaming suddenly wealthy. The supervisor, a tired-looking woman named Kate, led me to a cheerful room with toys and games. Your daughter will arrive shortly. Remember, all interactions are observed and documented. No discussions about the divorce or custody situation. No negative comments about her father. Just focus on being present with her. I nodded, my heart pounding. The door opened and Bailey walked in. My daughter, my baby. She'd grown in 8 months, gotten taller, lost some of the roundness in her face. She was 10 now, heading toward 11. Heading toward an age where she'd remember these years, remember being separated from her mother. "Hi, baby," I said, my voice breaking. Bailey stood in the doorway, uncertainty all over her face. "Hi, Mom. Come sit with me. We can play something or just talk. Whatever you want." She sat on a chair across from me, not beside me. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. "Dad said you were in trouble, that you were homeless." I was, but things have changed. I inherited property from my great-uncle, a beautiful horse farm with amazing horses. I've been thinking about you every day, missing you so much. Dad said you chose horses over me. That's why you lost custody. I felt rage building but forced it down. This was Gregory's narrative, poison-fed to our daughter. "That's not true, Bailey. I lost custody because Dad had better lawyers, and I couldn't afford to fight properly. But I never chose anything over you. You're the most important thing in my life. Then why haven't you visited? It's been 8 months. Because I was homeless, baby. I was living on the streets, and I couldn't have you see me like that. I couldn't afford the fees for this facility. But now I can, and I'm here. I'll be here every month, every visit I'm allowed to have. I'm never missing another one." Bailey's expression was skeptical, too skeptical for a 10-year-old. "Vanessa says you're unstable, that you can't take care of yourself. Vanessa doesn't know me, and she shouldn't be talking to you about me at all." I took a breath. "Bailey, I know things are confusing right now, but I need you to know that I love you. I've always loved you, and I'm working hard to build a life where you can be with me again. Okay?" "Okay," she said quietly, but I could tell she didn't fully believe me. We spent the rest of the visit playing board games and talking about school, her friends, the things she liked. She was cautious with me, like I was a stranger. That hurt worst of all. My own daughter treating me like someone she barely knew. When the visit ended, and she left with Gregory, who'd been waiting in the parking lot, I sat in my car and cried until I couldn't breathe. Kate, the supervisor, knocked on my window. "First visits are always hard," she said when I rolled down the window. "But you did well. You stayed calm, focused on her. That's what matters. She barely knows me anymore. Then you remind her, every visit. You show up, you're present, you're patient. Eventually, she'll remember who you are." I drove back to the estate with tears still streaming down my face. Margaret took one look at me and pulled me into a hug. Cameron appeared in the doorway of the stable and gave me a sympathetic nod. Even the horses seemed to sense something was wrong. Midnight whinnied at me from her stall. "She's been poisoned against me," I said to Margaret when I could finally speak. "Gregory and Vanessa have spent 8 months telling her lies about me." "Then you spend the next however many months showing her the truth. You don't fight poison with poison. You fight it with consistency and love." "What if it's not enough?" "It will be. I've seen you with those horses, Felicia. You have infinite patience when something matters to you. Bailey matters more than anything. You'll find that patience for her, too." 4 months into my year at the estate, Gregory made his move. I received a notification from my lawyer that he'd filed an emergency motion to terminate my visitation rights entirely, claiming I was psychologically manipulating Bailey and that supervised visits were harmful to her well-being. "This is retaliation," Diane said when she called to tell me. "He's scared. You've been showing up to every visit, being a good mother, and Bailey's starting to warm up to you. He wants to cut that off before it progresses." "Can he do that?" "He can try. We have a hearing in 3 weeks. The judge will review the supervisor's reports, interview Bailey if necessary, and make a decision." Diane paused. "How have the visits been going?" "Better. Bailey's less guarded now. Last visit, she actually hugged me goodbye." "She's been telling me about school, about her life. She's opening up." "That's what Gregory's afraid of. He wants to maintain control of the narrative, and he can't do that if Bailey's building an independent relationship with you." The hearing was held in the same courthouse where I'd lost everything 14 months earlier. Walking into that building felt like descending into a nightmare. Gregory was there with his lead attorney, a shark named Russell Paxton who'd destroyed me in the divorce. Vanessa sat behind Gregory, playing the supportive partner. The judge was new, not the same one who'd ruled against me before. Judge Morrison was younger, a woman with sharp eyes who looked like she didn't suffer fools. That gave me a small amount of hope. "Mr. Henderson," the judge said, "you filed an emergency motion to terminate Ms. Ray's visitation. What's the basis?" Russell stood. "Your Honor, Ms. Ray has been using visitation to undermine Mr. Henderson's parenting and poison the child against him and his partner. The supervisor's reports indicate Ms. Ray makes subtle negative comments about Mr. Henderson and repeatedly tells the child she's working to change custody arrangements, which causes the child anxiety." "That's a lie," I whispered to Diane. "Let me handle this," she whispered back, then stood. "Your Honor, we have the actual supervisor's reports here. In 4 months of regular visitation, there is not a single documented instance of Ms. Ray making inappropriate comments. In fact, the reports consistently note that Ms. Ray remains focused on the child, avoids discussing adult matters, and has been rebuilding a positive relationship with her daughter." Judge Morrison held out her hand. "Let me see those reports." She read in silence for several minutes while we all waited. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Paxton, these reports don't support your claims. They actually paint a very different picture. A mother who's been consistently appropriate, engaged and positive during supervised visitation. Where exactly is the evidence of manipulation?" Russell shifted uncomfortably. "Your Honor, the child has expressed anxiety to Mr. Henderson about the visits. According to Mr. Henderson's testimony, do we have any independent verification? Has the child been interviewed by a guardian ad litem, by a therapist?" "Well, no, but..." "So we have only Mr. Henderson's claims about what the child supposedly told him, contradicted by professional observation during actual visits." Judge Morrison's expression was distinctly unimpressed. "Ms. Weston, does your client wish to respond?" Diane stood. "Your Honor, this motion is transparently retaliatory. Ms. Ray has rebuilt her life after a devastating divorce that left her with nothing. She now has a stable home, substantial income, and a supportive environment. She's been exercising her visitation rights responsibly. Mr. Henderson is threatened by his ex-wife's recovery and is attempting to further punish her by eliminating her access to their daughter. We ask that the motion be denied and, furthermore, that this court consider a modified custody arrangement given Ms. Ray's changed circumstances." "We're not here for custody modification," Russell objected. "No, but it's relevant context," Judge Morrison said. "Ms. Ray, you're the one who was homeless for several months following the divorce." I stood. "Yes, Your Honor. The divorce left me with no assets and substantial debt. I lived on the streets for 8 months. And your current situation. I inherited an estate from my great-uncle 4 months ago. I now live on a 40-acre property with a mansion and professional equestrian facilities. I oversee a stable of elite competition horses and have a substantial income from investments." Quite a change. And you've been using this improved situation to maintain regular visitation. Yes, Your Honor. I've attended every scheduled visit. I've been appropriate, focused on Bailey, trying to rebuild our relationship after being separated for so long. Judge Morrison looked at Gregory. Mr. Henderson, your ex-wife went from homeless to wealthy, and instead of being happy that your daughter's mother has resources and stability, you're trying to eliminate her access entirely. That doesn't sit well with me. Motion denied. Supervised visitation will continue. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full custody evaluation. If Ms. Ray's circumstances have truly changed as dramatically as it appears, this court has an obligation to reconsider whether the current arrangement remains in the child's best interest. Your Honor, Russell protested, that's not what we're here for. You made it relevant by filing this motion. You opened the door to questioning the current arrangement. Now we're going to examine it thoroughly. I'm appointing Dr. Helena Martinez as guardian ad litem to conduct the evaluation. Both parties will cooperate fully. She banged her gavel. Next case. Diane and I walked out of the courthouse into bright sunshine. I wanted to scream with relief and triumph, but I kept my expression neutral until we reached her car. That, Diane said with a huge grin, was beautiful. Gregory just handed us exactly what we wanted. Instead of shutting down your visitation, he triggered a full custody evaluation. What does that mean? It means a child psychologist is going to interview Bailey, interview both parents, visit both homes, and make a recommendation to the court about custody. If Dr. Martinez sees what I think she'll see, a stable, loving mother with excellent resources versus a controlling father trying to eliminate the mother's influence, we might actually win this. Might. Family court is never a guarantee, but this is the best chance you've had since you lost custody. Gregory screwed up badly today. When I got home, I told Margaret everything. She hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. I knew it would turn around, she said. I knew it. That night I sat in midnight stall, leaning against her warm bulk while she ate hay. Cameron found me there. Heard the court news, he said. That's good? That's very good. There's going to be a custody evaluation. Someone's going to come see the estate, see how I live, talk to Bailey. We'll make sure everything's perfect. The horses, the property, all of it. When this evaluator comes, she'll see an amazing home for a kid. Thank you, Cameron, for everything. You and the whole staff, you've made this transition possible. Theodore chose well, Cameron said simply. You're good people, Felicia, and you're a hell of a horse trainer. Midnight hasn't been this happy since Theodore died. That mare knows quality when she sees it. Dr. Helena Martinez arrived 2 weeks later for her evaluation. She was a small woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a notebook she wrote in constantly. I showed her around the estate, the mansion, the stables, the training facilities. She watched me work with Midnight, observed my interactions with the staff, asked detailed questions about my daily routine. This is quite an impressive operation, she said as we sat in the mansion's living room, drinking tea Margaret had prepared. You've adjusted well to suddenly having significant wealth. I'm not overwhelmed by the money itself. I'm just grateful to be doing what I love again. Working with horses, living on a farm. This is who I was before the divorce destroyed me. Theodore gave me a chance to be that person again. Tell me about Bailey. What kind of mother do you want to be to her? The same mother I was before, present, supportive, consistent. I want her to feel safe and loved. I want her to know she comes first, always. And I want her to grow up around horses the way I did. There's something healing about working with animals, about being responsible for their care. I think Bailey would thrive here. Mr. Henderson argues that suddenly having wealth doesn't erase the instability you showed before. I was never unstable. I was poor. There's a difference. When you're homeless, people assume there's something wrong with you mentally. But poverty isn't a personality flaw. It's a circumstance. Gregory's lawyers created that circumstance deliberately by stripping me of everything in the divorce. Now that circumstance has changed. Dr. Martinez made notes. I'll be interviewing Bailey next week, both at Mr. Henderson's home and here during one of your visitations. I'll also be speaking with the visitation supervisor and reviewing all reports from the past 4 months. Whatever you need, I have nothing to hide. After she left, I felt cautiously optimistic. The estate spoke for itself. This was clearly a stable, appropriate environment for a child. The staff had all spoken highly of me to Dr. Martinez. The horses demonstrated my competence and dedication, but I also knew Gregory would be working hard to undermine me. He'd be coaching Bailey, preparing her to say the right things. He'd be presenting his house as the better option, Vanessa as the better mother figure. The next visitation, Dr. Martinez observed from a corner of the room. Bailey arrived and hugged me immediately. That was progress. We played games and talked, and for the first time in months, it felt almost normal. Almost like we were mother and daughter again, instead of strangers carefully navigating supervised time. "Mom," Bailey said toward the end of the visit, "Dad says you're trying to take me away from him." I glanced at Dr. Martinez, who was watching intently. "Baby, I'm not trying to take you from anyone. I'm trying to be your mom again. I love you, and I want us to have a real relationship, not just these short visits once a month. That doesn't mean taking you away from Dad. It means sharing time with you the way parents are supposed to after divorce. But I like living with Dad and Vanessa. They're nice to me. I'm glad they're nice to you. You deserve to be treated well. But I'm your mum, and I can be nice to you too. You can love both your parents, Bailey. That's okay." She thought about this. "Vanessa says you lost custody because you were more interested in horses than in me." "That's not true, but I can see why they'd tell you that. It makes what happened seem like my fault. The truth is more complicated. Your dad had better lawyers than I did, and after the divorce, I lost everything including my farm. I didn't choose horses over you. I lost both of you, and it nearly destroyed me." Dr. Martinez made a note. Bailey looked conflicted. "The farm you have now, does it have a lot of horses?" 12 beautiful horses. You'd love them. There's one named Midnight Sonata who's absolutely brilliant. She's a dressage horse worth millions of dollars. And the property has riding trails and a private beach and so much space to explore. I've been hoping you could visit someday, see it for yourself. Would I have to ride the horses? Only if you wanted to. You'd never have to do anything you didn't want to do, baby. This would be your home too, a place where you felt safe and comfortable. After the visit, Dr. Martinez asked to speak with me privately. That was well handled. You didn't badmouth Mr. Henderson or Ms. Pritchard. You acknowledged Bailey's feelings, and you focused on building a relationship rather than winning a competition. Because that's how I actually feel. This isn't about beating Gregory. It's about being Bailey's mother again. I'll be making my recommendation to the court in 3 weeks. I'll need to complete my evaluation of Mr. Henderson's household first. She closed her notebook. Off the record, you're doing everything right, Felicia. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Gregory called me the night before Dr. Martinez was scheduled to interview him. We need to talk. We really don't. Felicia, please. This custody thing, it's gotten out of hand. Can we find a way to resolve this without dragging Bailey through more court proceedings? You're the one who filed the emergency motion, Gregory. You opened this door. I was advised to do that by my lawyer. It was a strategic move. It was a stupid move. And now there's a full custody evaluation, and you're scared because you know what that evaluator is going to see. She's going to see that I have a stable, beautiful home, that I'm fully capable of being a mother, that you've been keeping Bailey from me based on lies. It's not lies. You were homeless. Because you destroyed me, Gregory. You and your lawyers stripped me of everything, including my dignity. But I survived, I rebuilt, and now I'm coming for my daughter. You can't take her from me. I don't want to take her from you. I want shared custody, which is what should have happened in the first place. You're her father, and you have a right to be in her life. But so do I. And unlike you, I'm not trying to eliminate the other parent. I'm trying to share our daughter the way divorced parents are supposed to. Vanessa's been good to Bailey. Vanessa is not Bailey's mother. I am. And no matter how much you wish you could erase me and replace me with your girlfriend, that's not how this works. He was quiet for a long moment. What if I agree to modified custody, 50-50, alternating weeks? Would you drop the evaluation? Why would I do that when the evaluation is likely to recommend exactly that anyway? Because it would be faster, less disruptive for Bailey. We could agree to terms now and avoid putting her through interviews and assessments. I thought about it. It was tempting, get what I wanted without more court battles. But something in Gregory's voice made me suspicious. Why are you really calling? What are you afraid the evaluator is going to find? Silence. Gregory? Vanessa and I are having some issues. She might not be around much longer, and if the evaluator comes and sees that, if she sees instability in my household. So your perfect replacement family is falling apart, and you're worried how that looks. It's not falling apart. We're just going through a rough patch. And you don't want the evaluator to document that your home situation is unstable, while mine is incredibly stable. You're afraid you're going to lose. Damn it, Felicia. Here's my counteroffer. I'll agree to 50-50 custody, but with conditions. I have final say on major decisions. Medical, educational, religious. Bailey spends summers with me so she can really experience life at the farm. And you agree never to try to modify custody again unless there's a genuine emergency. That's ridiculous. I'm her father. And you've been making unilateral decisions for over a year while I was shut out completely. If you want to avoid the evaluation, those are my terms. Otherwise, we let Dr. Martinez make her recommendation, and we take our chances with what the judge decides. I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end. I need to think about it. You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires. I hung up. Diane called me 2 hours later. I just heard from Russell Paxton. Gregory wants to negotiate a settlement. I know. He called me. I gave him terms. Felicia, you should have consulted me first. I know what I want. 50-50 custody, final decision-making authority for me. Summers with me. If he agrees to that, we're done. If not, we proceed with the evaluation. Those are fairly aggressive terms. I'm done being the weaker party. Gregory is scared, and I'm using that. Is that wrong? Diane laughed. No, it's smart. Let me formalize the offer and send it to Russell. But be prepared. Gregory might not accept. He's got a big ego. Gregory called back the next morning. I'll agree to alternating weeks, but I want alternating holidays too, and I'm not giving up decision-making authority. Then we have no deal. See you at the evaluation. Wait, damn it, Felicia, you're being unreasonable. No, I'm being a mother who's been shut out of her daughter's life for over a year. You had complete control and you used it to poison Bailey against me. I'm not giving you that power again. Either you agree to my terms or we let the court decide. Your choice. Another long silence then. Fine. I agree to your terms. Draft the agreement. I hung up and immediately called Diane. He agreed. To everything. Holy shit. Okay. I'll draft a stipulated agreement and send it to Russell for review. If everyone signs, we can file it with the court and avoid the evaluation entirely. Diane paused. You realize you just got everything you wanted. Not everything. I wanted primary custody, but 50-50 is 1,000 times better than supervised visitation once a month. And I got decision-making authority, which means I can actually parent her again. You did good, Felicia. Really good. The agreement was finalized and filed within a week. Just like that, I had my daughter back. Not full-time, not the way I wanted, but back in my life in a real way. The first week she came to stay with me, I was terrified. What if she hated the estate? What if she was miserable and wanted to go back to Gregory early? But Bailey arrived with a small suitcase and a cautious smile. Wow, she said, looking at the mansion. This is really where you live? This is where we live. During your weeks here, this is your home too. Want me to show you your room? I'd spent days preparing it. A huge bedroom with a window seat overlooking the paddocks, decorated in soft blues and greens, with a bookshelf full of books I remembered her loving when she was younger. Bailey walked in and just stared. "Is this really mine?" "Really yours. You can decorate it however you want, change anything you don't like. I want you to feel comfortable here." She sat on the bed, bouncing a little. "It's really soft." "Only the best for you." I sat beside her. "Bailey, I want you to know something. This past year has been the hardest year of my life, and most of that was because I was separated from you. I know things have been confusing, and I know you've heard different versions of what happened with the divorce, but I need you to know that I love you more than anything in this world. I always have. I always will. And I'm so grateful to have this chance to be your mum again." Bailey looked at me with eyes that were suddenly teary. "I missed you, Mom." We hugged, and it felt like something broken was finally starting to heal. The first few weeks of shared custody were an adjustment. Bailey was used to Gregory's household rules, Vanessa's ways of doing things. The estate was different, bigger, quieter, with horses instead of suburbs. But slowly, she adapted. She started helping with evening feeding, carefully measuring grain under Alex's supervision. She'd sit on the fence watching Cameron work with the horses, asking questions about training techniques. Midnight Sonata let Bailey pet her, which Cameron said was remarkable. The mare usually only tolerated people she knew well. "She's got your way with animals," Cameron told me one evening. "Watch her around the horses. She's calm, patient. That's not something you can teach." Gregory called constantly the first month, checking on Bailey, making sure she was okay. I was patient with it. I understood he was anxious about the new arrangement, but I also suspected he was hoping to catch me in some mistake, some proof that Bailey wasn't safe or happy with me. He never found it. Bailey thrived at the estate. 2 months into our new arrangement, Vanessa left Gregory. Bailey told me about it during one of her weeks with me, how she'd come home from school to find Vanessa packing, how Gregory had been angry and upset, how their house felt empty now. "Is Dad going to be okay?" Bailey asked. We were grooming Midnight together, teaching Bailey how to use the curry comb properly. "Your dad's a grown man. He'll be fine. Relationships end sometimes, and that's hard, but people survive. Like you survived when he divorced you." I paused in my brushing. "Yes, like that. Though your dad and I are different people who handle things differently." "Are you glad Vanessa left?" "I don't think it's my place to be glad or not glad about your father's relationships, but I will say that Vanessa shouldn't have been put in the position of trying to replace me. I'm your mother. That's not a role someone else can fill." Bailey thought about this while carefully brushing Midnight's mane. "Vanessa always told me I should call her Mom. I didn't like that." My hand stilled. "Did you tell your father?" "Yeah, he said I should try to make her happy, that she was trying to be nice to me." That explained a lot. "Bailey, you never have to call anyone Mom except me. If someone asks you to do that again, you tell me, okay?" "Okay." Gregory showed up at the estate unannounced 3 days later. Margaret buzzed me from the main house. I was in the stable with Bailey, teaching her how to properly pick a horse's hooves. "Your ex-husband is here," Margaret said with a note of concern in her voice. "He's demanding to see you and Bailey immediately." "Tell him I'll be up in 10 minutes. Bailey looked worried. "Is Dad mad about something?" "I don't know, baby. Let's go find out." Gregory was pacing in the main house's foyer when we arrived. He looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. This was not the polished lawyer I'd been married to. "Bailey, go to your room for a minute," I said gently. "Your dad and I need to talk." "But—" "Please, baby. I'll come get you in a few minutes." After she left, I turned to Gregory. "What are you doing here? This isn't your custody time, and you didn't call ahead." "I don't need permission to check on my daughter." "Actually, you do. The custody agreement specifies that neither of us drops by the other's house unannounced. If you want to see Bailey during my time, you call ahead and we schedule something." Don't lecture me about the custody agreement. I know what it says. Then why are you here? Because Bailey told me Vanessa tried to make her call her mom. She said you told her she doesn't have to, that you're undermining Vanessa's relationship with her. Vanessa left you 3 days ago, Gregory. What relationship are we talking about? He flinched. That's temporary. We're working through things. That's none of my business. But here's what is my business. Bailey is my daughter. She has one mother, and that's me. Vanessa had no right to ask Bailey to call her mom, and I had every right to tell Bailey she doesn't have to do anything that makes her uncomfortable. That's called being a parent. You're turning Bailey against Vanessa. Vanessa turned Bailey against Vanessa by overstepping. I'm just protecting my daughter from being manipulated into replacing me. I stepped closer to him. Gregory, I've been very patient with you during this transition. I haven't badmouthed you to Bailey. I've been flexible with the schedule when you've asked, but I will not let you barge into my home and accuse me of parenting my own child. You need to leave now. We're not done talking about this. Yes, we are. And if you show up here unannounced again, I'll call the police for trespassing and file a motion for violating the custody agreement. Get out of my house. He left, but the look he gave me promised this wasn't over. True to his threat, Gregory filed a motion 2 weeks later, alleging I was alienating Bailey from him and Vanessa. We were back in court in front of Judge Morrison. Here we are again, the judge said, sounding tired. Mr. Henderson, you agreed to a custody arrangement 6 months ago. What's the problem now? Russell stood. Your Honor, Ms. Ray has been systematically undermining Mr. Henderson's parenting and his partner's relationship with the child. She's told the child she doesn't need to respect Ms. Pritchard's authority. She's made disparaging comments about Mr. Henderson's household, and she's been poisoning the child's mind against everyone except herself. That's completely false, Diane said. We have documentation of every conversation Ms. Ray has had with Bailey during transition times. Not once has she said anything inappropriate about Mr. Henderson or Ms. Pritchard. What she has done is enforce appropriate boundaries, such as telling Bailey she doesn't have to call anyone mom, except her actual mother. That's not alienation. That's parenting. Judge Morrison looked at Gregory. Mr. Henderson, is it true that Ms. Pritchard asked your daughter to call her mom? Gregory shifted uncomfortably. Vanessa was trying to build a relationship with Bailey by asking the child to call her mom, while the actual mother is alive, involved, and has joint custody. The judge's expression was incredulous. What did you think was going to happen, that Ms. Ray would just accept being replaced? That's not what we were trying to do. That's exactly what you were trying to do. And now that it's backfired, you're blaming Ms. Ray for setting appropriate boundaries. Judge Morrison looked at her papers. I'm denying this motion. Furthermore, I'm ordering that any future motions to modify custody must be accompanied by substantial evidence of actual harm to the child. Mr. Henderson, you've now filed 2 motions against Ms. Ray, both without merit. If you file a third frivolous motion, I'll consider sanctions. Do you understand? Your Honor, do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Good. This custody arrangement is working well for the child, who by all accounts is thriving. Stop trying to disrupt it. Both of you, focus on co-parenting instead of fighting. Dismissed. In the parking lot after the hearing, Gregory cornered me by my car. This isn't over, Felicia. It really is, Gregory. You lost. Again. And if you keep this up, you're going to lose more than custody battles. You're going to lose Bailey's respect. She's old enough now to see what you're doing, how you're behaving. Is this really the example you want to set? I'm trying to protect my daughter. From what? From having a mother who loves her. From a beautiful home with horses and stability. What exactly am I doing that's so dangerous, Gregory? Tell me. He couldn't answer, because there was no answer. I wasn't doing anything wrong, and he knew it. You want to know what I think? I said quietly. I think you can't stand that I survived what you did to me. You thought destroying me in the divorce would be permanent. You thought I'd stay broken, stay invisible, stay out of your life forever. And when I didn't, when I came back stronger and more stable than ever, it made you furious. Because it means you didn't win. It means you failed to destroy me. That's not... It's exactly that. And the worst part for you is that Bailey sees it too. She sees that I'm happy and stable and building a good life. She sees you flailing, losing Vanessa, filing frivolous lawsuits. She's going to draw her own conclusions about which parent is actually stable. I got in my car and drove away, leaving him standing there. The year Theodore had required me to live on the estate and oversee the horses came to an end on a cold January morning. Patricia arrived with final paperwork, documentation that I'd fulfilled all conditions and that everything Theodore had left me was now mine unconditionally. You did it, Patricia said, smiling. 1 full year. The property, the horses, all of it is yours free and clear. You can sell, keep, do whatever you want now. I'm not selling. I looked around at the estate, at the horses grazing in their paddocks, at the life I'd built here. This is home, for me and for Bailey. Theodore would be pleased. Over the past year, I'd learned everything I could about Theodore from the staff and from Patricia. He'd been a brilliant horseman, a shrewd businessman, and someone who'd lived with regret about his broken family relationships. Leaving me his estate had been his way of correcting that, of helping family he'd never met because he couldn't help the brother he'd lost. I want to do something, I told Patricia. I want to establish a foundation in Theodore's name, something that helps women who've been financially destroyed by their divorces. Legal aid, temporary housing, job training, everything they need to rebuild. That's beautiful. How much do you want to allocate? I thought about the 53 million sitting in investment accounts, generating more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. 20 million to start, and I want to fund it in perpetuity. Theodore gave me a second chance. I want to make sure other women get the same opportunity. He'd be very proud of you. The foundation launched 6 months later. We helped 30 women in the first year, providing lawyers, financial resources, support networks. Every woman we helped was a small redemption for the months I'd spent homeless. Bailey, now 12, had fully adjusted to our shared custody arrangement. She spent her summers with me at the estate, and during those long summer days, she learned to ride properly. Midnight Sonata became her horse. The mare who'd trusted me had extended that trust to my daughter. Gregory had stopped filing motions. He'd accepted that the custody arrangement was permanent. Vanessa never came back, and Gregory eventually started dating someone else, a woman who, according to Bailey, was much nicer about boundaries. On the 2-year anniversary of inheriting the estate, I stood on the terrace overlooking the paddocks at sunset. Bailey was in the stable with Cameron, learning advanced grooming techniques. Margaret was preparing dinner. The horses were settling in for the evening. My phone rang. Gregory. What? I answered, not unkindly but not warmly either. Bailey told me she wants to live with you full-time. My heart stopped. What? She said she loves it there. The horses, the property, you. She said she wants to live there year-round and just visit me on weekends and holidays. He sounded defeated. I told her we'd have to talk to you about it. Gregory, I don't want to take her from you. I know. That's the thing. You've never tried to take her from me. You've been fair, reasonable, even generous with custody time. And Bailey sees that. She sees that you're the stable one, the good parent. And she's right. You are. I didn't know what to say. I'm not fighting this, Gregory continued. If Bailey wants to live with you primarily, I'll agree to it. Modified custody, you primary, me alternating weekends and holidays. We'll need to formalize it with the court, but I won't contest it. Why are you doing this? Because I'm tired of fighting, because you've proven you're a good mother, and because I owe you this, Felicia. I destroyed you 2 years ago. I tried to erase you from our daughter's life, and you survived anyway, and you've been nothing but gracious about co-parenting despite everything I did. You deserve this. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. Bailey found me there. "Dad called you," she asked. "He did. He said you want to live here full time. Is that okay?" She looked worried. "I don't want to hurt Dad's feelings, but I just love it here, Mom. The horses, the staff, everything. This feels like home." I pulled her into a hug. "It's more than okay. This is your home, baby. It always has been." 6 weeks later, the modified custody was official. Bailey moved in permanently, her room filled with her things, her presence constant and wonderful. She started at a good private school nearby, made friends who came to the estate for riding lessons. She thrived. One evening, 3 years after inheriting Theodore's estate, I was reading in the study when Bailey came in. She was 15 now, tall and confident, with her father's determination, but my patience. "Mum, can I ask you something?" "Always." "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't inherited all this? If Great-Uncle Theodore hadn't left you the estate?" I thought about it carefully. "I think about it sometimes. I'd probably still be struggling, probably never would have gotten custody back. Your father would have won completely." "Does that make you angry?" "No, because what matters isn't what might have happened. What matters is what did happen. Theodore gave me a chance and I made the most of it. I got my life back. I got you back. That's what's real." Bailey smiled. "I'm glad he left you everything. Not because of the money or the house, but because it brought you back. I missed you, Mom. During that year when I barely saw you. I missed you too, baby. Every single day. Dad told me once that you'd never be stable enough to take care of me. That I should forget about living with you." She looked at me with steady eyes. "He was wrong about everything. Your father made mistakes, but he's still your father, and he loves you. I know. But you're the parent I trust. You're the one who never stopped fighting for me, even when you had nothing. That means something." After she went to bed, I walked through the mansion that Theodore had left me. This beautiful, impossible gift that had saved my life. I thought about the woman I'd been 3 years ago, digging through garbage, hopeless and invisible. I thought about everything I'd survived, everything I'd rebuilt. Gregory had tried to destroy me. He'd stripped me of everything, left me homeless, taken my daughter. He'd thought he'd won, but I'd survived. More than survived. I'd triumphed. I had my daughter back. I had a life I loved. I had resources to help other women avoid my fate. And Gregory, he spent every other weekend watching his daughter choose me, watching me thrive in ways he'd never expected. That was my revenge. Not schemes or cruelty, but simply living well. Simply being the mother Bailey needed. Simply proving that you can't destroy someone who refuses to stay broken. The past was behind me. The future stretched ahead, full of horses and sunshine, and my daughter's laughter. Theodore had given me more than money or property. He'd given me my life back, and I'd made damn sure it was worth saving.